Yeah, there it is. Can't forget about the clapboard. Part 2, right? So now that we understand how f-stop and aperture is going to relate to our shutter speed, which will also relate to our ISO, now we can really fine tune our craft and start mastering us behind the camera. You know what? Here goes something else you can't forget: the importance of white balancing. Now this right here is the color checker from X-Rite. Not sure if you're gonna be able to see this. Might want to put that in front of my face, and that way the camera will focus on it. But what this is and what it does, it pretty much will tell your camera what all these different colors are. So then that way everything looks the way it's supposed to look, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab this. I'm gonna sit it right here. I'm gonna pick the camera up. So now, just for the sake of this tutorial, we're gonna put this about right here. So I just want to put this upside down so that I get some decent shot right here, right? So we see where this is at, and I'm just gonna open this up so the light will hit it. Now I'm gonna stop this. Okay, so here we go right here, right? So boom, look. This right here is at 5,500. So if you're shooting outside in the sun, chances are you're shooting at 5,500, right? So if I'm moving around my studio here with 5,500, you see how orange everything looks, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this and I'm gonna do my white balance real fast. Forgive the quality of this video. I'm using my phone because it is what it is, right? So we can see that the white balance is at 5,500. So when I hit this, I'm at custom 3. So I'm gonna just hit that right there. And now you can see the white balance is at 5,500 Kelvin. Now, whenever you're getting into these shoots, you're gonna wanna make sure you're reading what your light is looking like. So now you see how that box is pointed directly at this this color checker right here, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push the button right in the middle to white balance. Boom. So now at that point, we see it went from 5,500 to 3,300, and we have captured the custom white balance data as it says, right? So your white balancing is very simple and very effective. So with that being said, I'm gonna get back to the video. So now here we can see that the color is at 3,300 Kelvin, and we can just see that there's such a difference here. So I almost forgot that I'm supposed to be using this mic, but it'll work out no matter what, right? So a little bit of audio situation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this back on the tripod, lock this in. Sorry if this sounds pretty loud. Now I'll go back to sitting down. So now hopefully you can see the difference. Now whenever you use a gray card instead of a white card, what will end up happening is your skin tones will get a lot more warmth to them, a lot more color. With the white card, you might have to go in and kind of adjust that in post because your image will have a little less warmth to them. And I've been using this specific color checker from X-Rite for a couple years now. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that they were purchased by another company. So these are extremely expensive. They're like $200, but hey, it is what it is. If you want to get into that professional lane, you're gonna have to spend some professional money on a color checker like this one right here from X-Rite. It might be something new, it might be something different, but the point is still the same. So make sure when you get to your shoots, you're gauging the temperature of your lights, because all lights have a temperature to them. The sun is at 5,600 Kelvin. On cloudy days, that might vary. With the overcast, that might vary. When you go into a room like this, where there's no fluorescent lights in here, but usually if there is, you're gonna want to have your white balance around like the 3,000, 3,200 area. But sometimes you might get a light that's at 4,200. So start understanding that you need to learn how to read the temperature of the light. So with that being said, moving on. Camera. Now that means you need to go out and shoot as much as you possibly can and start testing of your gear and start realizing how each one of these correlate to your image, right? So go out and have your camera like this close to your image and bring your f-stop to whatever it may be, real high or real low, and then move your camera back and forth. And then also too, bring some light in the mix, right? So if you have some light in the mix and your light is like right here and you're shooting, it's gonna look a lot different than if you were to increase your f-stop to like f15 or something like that. So what we want to do is want to kind of just like test out all of what our camera has to offer. Don't be scared of your camera settings and try just going into auto. Please don't. You know what I mean? Like when you're focusing, sometimes take your focus off of autofocus and learn how to manually focus. Learn how to rack focus manually, because in the end, it'll only increase the level of productivity and production that you can provide for others, right? With that being said, the next step is securing clients. So when you're going through this entire process of taking pictures as much as possible, shooting as much as possible, doing as much video as humanly possible, when it's dark outside, they're shooting. When it's light outside, they're shooting. Your family and your friends see you with a camera more than they see you with a pair of shoes on nowadays, right? So they're like, hey, can you do some pictures for us? You're going to say, absolutely. They're going to say, well, you know, you're starting out, so I gotta give you anything? And you're gonna say, all you gotta do is just refer somebody else to me, like, you know what I mean? So, but moving on, we'll circle back to that. But ultimately, your friends and family are gonna be the first ones to support you when it comes to you getting started out. Like anywhere from like that 16 to 24 age, you know what I mean? Like I feel like your parents will have your back with a lot of stuff. When you get past 24, 25, you on your own. Trust me, you know what I mean? Now that you are shooting with your friends and family, you're shooting like birthday parties, you're shooting Jack and Jill parties, you might tag along for one of your friends who's gonna go shoot a wedding. You might go over to the local museum and film some of their art displays and send it to them. See if you can get it put on their website, as you know, it's like a visitor from that perspective. What'll end up happening is somebody's gonna reach out to you versus you reaching out to them. Now, when somebody reaches out to you, the ball is kind of in your court. You know what I mean? Like where you can kind of make the decision to work with this person or not. And you can also set the standard for what you expect and what your expectations are working this job. Make sure you get pay and all that stuff out of the way out the gate. The reason being is because you don't want to go and show up for somebody to go shoot and you never talk to them about how much you're going to be making, none of that stuff, and they got you there for 8 hours, right? That's the 7th hour, you're going to be like, yo, what is going on? Like, I mean, so trust me. Another thing too, try to say no to shoot for exposure. Early on, it's like, that's like one of the biggest ways that people try pitching themselves to you, especially if they have some level of status. What'll end up happening is they'll say, oh yeah, I want you to shoot for me for this weekend, and I'm gonna put your name on all this stuff and I'm gonna give you exposure. Wait, hold on. It's just like that's like a huge red flag for me, because I don't want to do anything for exposure. So back at the ranch, so now you are now getting calls from people. They're reaching out to you. They're like, yo, I've been seeing nothing but pure fire. I've been hearing nothing but great things about you. Just segue into, if you are a bad person and you like to get over on people, like if you do not do good business when it comes to doing business, everybody is going to talk about you the same way they would talk about you if you were doing great business, right? Now, please don't be like that. There's no reason to. People remember you when you do good deeds. Now, whenever anybody comes into my area that's filming like a major production, some people that is involved with the like the commissioners and all that type of stuff, they'll reach out to me and be like, such and such is going to be shooting, and I gave them your contact information. Can you please help them with what they're looking for? And I'll say, absolutely. Why? Because I like building those kind of bridges. I like being a resource. I like feeling like if somebody comes into my town, I can help them find what they're looking for. Now comes you perfecting your craft and you actually researching the other aspects of business that's not behind the camera, and that's behind of the camera, and that's looking into what type of company you want to have and how you want to structure your old hobby into an actual viable business. Now, at this point, I would say you would have between 10 to 15 clients weekly reaching out to you. You're not going to be working with them all the time, but you will be scheduling out. Now that's 10 to 15 calls, and you like converting on an 80% scale, right? If somebody's calling you up for something, they know what you have. It's an easy sell. It's not like you got to go and sell somebody some shoes that just came out. You know what I mean? That's just how that's. So I know my conversion rate was ridiculously high when I first started, right? And the reason why I know that is because my referral system. So boom, here goes the last thing I'm gonna leave you with, and I always talk about it because it works. I can't talk about it enough, right? So my main gem for turning your videography hobby into a videography business is have a referral system that works for you. The referral system that worked for me is if I shoot with you and you tell somebody else and they book with me, your next shoot is 50% off. And I don't care what it is. The first 6 months, I didn't care what it was. If you wanted to shoot wedding pictures, 50% off. If you want me to do a music video, 50% off. If you want me to do, it didn't matter what it was, 50% off. And you gotta whatever you say in this, you need to stand on.